Do you wonder why you're struggling in your business when it comes to selling? Well, today I'm going to share with you 3 powerful truths that are going to help you and level up in creating revenue and selling for your business. Hi, I'm Antonio Baldovinos, and for over 20 years, I've been speaking on stages all over the world. I'm an entrepreneur, and I help people on public speaking. I teach people on pitching, selling, closing, and I help people run online businesses. All right, so now let's get right into the content. Why do people buy? Because we have to answer that. So before I do that, before I go right into that content, I want to give you 2 basic principles that are really important for every business. The number 1 and number 2 skills that every business has to have. The number 1 skill is they have to know sales. They have to know how to close. They have to know how to pitch. If you don't know how to sell, then you don't have cash flow. You don't have a business. You need to exchange the value that you're providing in order to get money. So selling is critical for every business, online or brick and mortar. The second thing that is needed is public speaking. Public speaking is really just communication. Now, this is so critical for every business as well because you're serving clients, you're communicating to clients, you're communicating to your team members, you're communicating to even potential prospects. So public speaking and selling, they go hand in hand. The third thing that I would say that I'm not going to mention is marketing. But these 2 things go hand in hand, are so critical for every business. So let's go back into the content. Why do people buy? Because if selling is the cash flow for every business, then we need to understand why do people buy. So I'm going to go over 3 basic principles to help you in this. The first thing that we have to understand that people buy is you have to be in front of the right people. When I was 19 years old, it was a Saturday morning, really early. I got a phone call. I was newly married, like 2 months married. I was still going to college, and I received a phone call. And in that phone call, I was told that I was going to get $500 in gift cards if I attended a 90-minute presentation. I didn't even know what he said. I just took a hold of that $500 gift certificates that I was going to get. So I hung up the phone. I told my new bride, I said, we're going to jump in to this 90-minute presentation. And she's like, what is it about? I'm like, I don't know, but we're going to get $500 if we just sit on it. So we drove over, and by 10 o'clock, we're sitting in a 90-minute presentation for timeshares. Now, I had no interest. I didn't even know what timeshares was. I had no money for timeshares. I barely had money for rent the next month, let alone buying a timeshare in Mexico. So I sat in this 90-minute presentation, and then after that, they brought us into another room, all of us, and all of a sudden we're in front of a bunch of rows of people, and then they have sales agents on the other side of the table. So here we are, my wife and I with this new agent, and he's talking to us. And all he's doing is manipulating us, guilting us, trying to convince us to call our friends, to call our family members so we can put a down payment on a timeshare that we can't even fly to Mexico, let alone buy a timeshare. So there we are, and we're like, we're not gonna do it. We're not interested, we're not there. And I was pretty straightforward with him. I said, we're here just for the gift cards, that's it. $500 worth of gift cards, that's why we're here. And he didn't stop, he just kept going. And in fact, after we got done with him, then he brought in another salesperson, and here we are sitting down with another one. And so there they are, pushing us, putting us against the walls. They're trying to be witty. They're trying to overcome the objections. We don't even know what's going on. We just want to get out of there. That's all we want, get out of here. In fact, I was to the point where it was so much pressure that I didn't even want the gift cards. I just wanted to get out of there because they were pushing so much. Here's the point. You have to be in front of the right people to sell. It is not about your product. It is not about how good or witty you are. It is about being in front of the right people. If your product doesn't help the right people, then you're missing out. You could be so good at selling. I got this so many times in my life. If you're so good at sales, then why don't you just try to sell me on something? And I'm like, what problem do you have? Can you afford it? Those are the right questions. If you don't know that you're in front of the right person, you're never going to be able to sell. So here's key number 2 for selling to the right people, or I should say, why people buy. Why do people buy is because you have to understand the problem. What problem do they have? Do they have the right problem for you to solve, for you to help? See, really great salespeople have empathy. They have to have that empathy and connection to that person. You have to understand their problem. So if you can help them with their problem, they're probably going to buy. But you have to be able to solve that problem. Sales is all about solving people's problems. So the more empathy and the more understanding you can have about that person, putting yourself in their shoes, the better it is you're going to be able to communicate it with them, the better it is you're going to be able to solve their problem and sell your product, sell your offer, sell your service, whatever that may look like. Could be a course, a program, whatever that is, you're solving people's problem. So here's another big word, big phrase that you need to write down, that you need to think about. When it comes to selling, yes, it is about a problem. It's also about uncovering the value of your offer, of your product. So they have a problem. Key. Now, with your product, with your offer, you have to uncover the value of your product. So here's the thing. They have a problem. So they are in a current state. They have a desired state. And the bridge from their current state to their desired state is your offer. It's your product. It's your service. It's your event. It's your book, whatever that is. So you have to uncover the value. If you uncover the value, price will never be the problem. You don't have to push people. You don't have to make people feel dumb or inept. You don't have to do any of that. In fact, you can just uncover the value of your offer and people will buy. Here's the third key about selling. This is critical to understand. Every sale has objections. Now, objections are twofold. They have either limiting beliefs about themselves, or they're reserved about your offer, about your product. So our goal is not necessarily to be witty or to be so fast. See, that there's so many different trainings out there. I was a part of a financial firm that every single week they taught us about objections. That's all they did. Objections, objections, objections. They didn't talk to us about uncovering the value. They didn't talk to us about why people buy. They didn't tell us to be in front of the right people. They just talk to us about objections. And the way they talk to us about objections is about, if they say this phrase, then you respond it with this. And then if they say this phrase, then you respond it like that. And it's always about being in charge and being fast and being witty and being quick to the punch and manipulating and making people feel inept and dumb and all that. And that's a terrible way of looking at selling and sales. That's why people have such a bad taste in their mouth about sales, because you had a bad experience, just like I've had many bad experiences. You probably had bad experiences. Well, when it comes to objections, everyone's going to have objections. They're going to have reservations or limiting beliefs, like I said. So how do you fix that? How do you overcome objections? Here's the answer. You overcome people's objections in your presentation, in your talk. If you shared all those things and you go to the end, to the pitch or to your close and the Q&A, and you have not talked about their objections, their limiting beliefs, or the reservations in your talk, then you missed it. You totally missed it. What you want to do is you want to have a list. You want to know your person, the right people, and you want to make a list of all their possible objections. Make that list, okay? Whatever they are, all their limiting beliefs, all their objections, you want to write them down. And then what you do is you do it in your you answer them and overcome them in your presentations. So if they had limiting beliefs, put it in your presentation, in the talk, in the beginning, in your opener, in the middle. That's where you actually share it. If you're already talking about it at the end and you're waiting for the very end for Q&A, for them to talk to you about the objections, it's going to be such a bad taste in their mouth. It's also going to be very argumentative, potentially. It's going to be so defensive on your end. You don't want that. You want to be excited. You want them to be excited. So write down all their possible objections, and then in your presentation, share about it way in advance. Talk about it, talk about it, talk about it. And the best way to do it is through stories. The best way to answer objections is through your stories and testimonials in the beginning, not at the end. So here's the point. Why do people buy? Let's answer this. People buy because they feel like it. People don't buy necessarily because of how great your product is. People don't buy necessarily because of the price, how cheap it is or how expensive it is. People don't buy because of how you overcame their objections at the very end. No, people buy because you help them, because they feel like it. Man, if you can help people feel like this is gonna change my life, this is gonna help me, like this is gonna help overcome the different things that are going on in my life, could be limiting beliefs, could be reservations, whatever those are, they're gonna buy every single time, and price will never be the problem, or any other reservations won't be a problem. You uncovered the value of your offer, you're helping them solve their problem, you've overcome their limiting beliefs or reservations, and they're the right people at the right time that you're gonna help them uncover and help them solve their problem. That's why people buy. People buy because they feel like it. So the next time you go and to do a presentation, whether it's one-to-many or one-to-one, you wanna make them feel like buying. That is the number one goal for selling.